Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal, my hike up Ortega Highway in the Trabuco Ranger District of the Cleveland National Forest. Starting along the San Juan Loop Trail, I'll work my way around to the backside of the hill, then drop down into the canyon bottom near San Juan Creek. Here I'll officially run into the start of the Chiquito Trail and take it all the way to Chiquito Falls, our destination for today. On this adventure, Dave joins me as we venture northward deep into Lion Canyon before climbing over a high ridge with stunning views. Eventually, we'll drop down into another secluded valley and visit the magnificent Chiquito Falls. Now, Chiquito Falls isn't the tallest waterfall in the Cleveland National Forest, but what it lacks in height, it makes up for in volume and remoteness. You really gotta want to see this one to get there. It's not right by the car like the one in Ortega Falls. It's a tough 5 miles back into the rugged mountains on a rocky and somewhat steep trail. If you succeed in getting out there and back, you've gained almost 1,600 feet of elevation along the way. You would have had to cross San Juan Creek both directions. Depending on the time of the year, this can be an easy rock hop across, or like when we did it, a potentially dangerous swift water crossing. Timing is also critical on this hike out to Chiquito Falls, as it only flows for a short period, usually only for a few months or so after the rainy season. And in SoCal, we all know it doesn't come very often, or when it does, it doesn't last very long. Can you imagine the letdown to hike all the way out there to a dry gulch? Man, that sucked. Out here in this section of the Cleveland National Forest, it gets really hot way back in these canyons, and that damn chest-high manzanita really blocks out the breeze. While it might only be in the low 80s on a spring day, it might seem like 100 with the sun beating down on you on the way back. Last time I hiked out here, about 5 years ago, I got so freaking hot I stripped down buck naked and jumped into the icy cold water just to get my body core temperature down. That was kind of scary, the high temperature part and the seeing me naked part. In fact, according to the website World of Waterfalls, they say the falls are named Chiquito Falls based on the Spanish word for a little boy, referring to the falls being somewhat small. But what they also mentioned was that Chiquito is also slang for a tiny, diminutive, shall we say, man's lower middle appendage. Well, I can tell you what, after seeing those photos of me getting out of that icy cold water, I can vouch for the Chiquito part. According to the Cleveland National Forest website, they say Chiquito Falls really got its name over 100 years ago, when Kenneth Munhall, who was an early Cleveland National Forest ranger, stopped here one warm afternoon in 1927 with his horse, you guessed it, named Chiquito. The trail starts right alongside Ortega Highway, about 20 miles east of San Juan Capistrano, or 10 miles south of Lake Elsinore, directly across the street from the Ortega Oaks Candy Store and the San Juan Loop and Bear Canyon trailheads. The Bear Canyon Trail starts across the street on the south side of Ortega Highway and heads up towards Sinton Peak, while the San Juan Loop Trail begins northeast from the large parking area, but also has a nice vault toilet. Don't forget to bring your adventure pass on this one and stick it in your car window because it's close to the ranger station and they do cite violators up here. Over the last few weeks, we've got more rain than we know what to do with. All of the reservoirs are starting to fill up and the hillsides are saturated to the max. Seasonal streams that haven't flowed in years are busting their banks and racing downhill to join the usually running San Juan Creek. On our adventure, Dave and I will be starting out on the San Juan Loop Trail. We'll follow it around past the triple drop San Juan Falls to the bottom of the creek, and on the other side, the official trail begins. According to recent posts on all trails, the last several hikers that tried to cross San Juan Creek turned around after discovering the swift water flowing downstream way too fast, and the water was way too deep. One slip up here, you'd end up snagged under a fallen tree or trapped under a boulder, all equally bad. Luckily, the last few days had been sunny and dry, and even though we did expect a strong icy flow of water, hopefully the volume would have been a little less today, and that would allow Dave and I to cross without taking any unnecessary risks. Now, I was pretty familiar with this region of the Cleveland National Forest, and especially San Juan Creek, so I know it didn't take much for the water level to drop. I called Dave a few days before the hike and filled him in on the risks and the inherent dangers about crossing the creek this season. I told Dave I was bringing a rope for added safety while crossing, and he agreed that it was not only possible, but safe. On the morning of our hike, I drove out from my home in Temecula about a half hour to the turnoff for State Route 74, better known as Ortega Highway. I began the steep, windy drive up above Lake Elsinore, and I saw low clouds rising up above the lake like a carpet. When I passed the lookout bar, I had to pull over to get some photos. Within a few minutes, I topped out and dropped down into El Carrizo Village, a small, quaint scattering of derelict homes, cabins, and an old burnt-out biker bar. It also has the only CAL FIRE station in these regions. Just past the turnout for popular Ortega Falls, I reached the Ortega Oaks candy store and my Trailhead parking lot for the San Juan Loop Trail and the Bear Canyon Trails. I pulled into the parking lot and parked near the trailhead next to two empty spaces to wait for Dave.
Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Journal. Today I'm going to be taking a drive to Cleveland National Forest to do the Chiquito Trail to Chiquito Falls. Chiquito Falls is it's a pretty long way to go for a 20-foot waterfall. It's about a 5-mile hike from the San Juan Loop Trail down to the waterfalls and then another 5 miles back. So it's going to be a total of 10 miles today. But what's going to make today interesting is we have to cross San Juan Creek. And we've been getting more rain in the last month than we've gotten in 10 years. I mean, not total, but I mean, literally we've got over 20 inches of rain just within the last month and a half. So the waterfall is flowing really, really well. But also the San Juan Creek is flowing really, really well. And I did see some video from just a few days ago, and it was a raging river. So we're gonna figure out we're gonna have to figure out a way to get across San Juan Creek. It's gonna be interesting. If it's last two people that went, according to the post on All Trails, they didn't make it. They got down to the water crossing and they got halfway across and said, "No, it's moving way too fast." And it was over way steep, and they weren't even to the middle of the creek yet. So hopefully that won't be the case today. I'm hoping that we get a little bit of break, and I'm hoping that the last 48 hours. Here's our turn already. This is the turn. This is the candy store, famous candy store. This is where we're going to be parking today. San Juan Loop and Bear Canyon Trail. I'm going to look for Dave. Dave should be here pretty soon. That's our parking lot. This is the actual trail beginning right there. We'll do a loop around the parking lot here real quick since we're here. But anyway, so me and Dave are going to do a hike up the Chiquito Falls Trail. We're going to try to get to top of the falls. Maybe I'll just park right here. This is close to the trailhead. Okay, what's this moron going to do? He's going to pull in right behind me, so I'm going to park right here. So this guy can go fuck himself. All right, we are here. Who is this moron parking right next to me? I didn't recognize your car.
Oh, okay. I thought you saw me over there.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, good morning. Today we're going to be taking the San Juan Loop Trail, at least partial loop trail. We're going to go down to about the middle point of the loop, and then we're going to veer off onto the Chiquito Trail and take the Chiquito Trail down to the Chiquito Waterfall. It's about a 15-20 foot waterfall. It's about 5 miles back, just off to the side of Lion Canyon, back to the north and west from the trailhead here, which is right across the street from the candy store. So on the way there, we're going to see the San Juan triple set of falls, and because of all the rain we've got over the last several days, that ought to be flowing pretty good. So that ought to be a pretty good sight today. The waterfall at Chiquito Falls ought to be flowing pretty good as well. The difficult part is going to be crossing the creek to get to the other side. It's over the last week, the rain has been coming down hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if that water's way steep and flowing at a pretty good clip. So we're prepared. We have some things we can get wet, and we also have some rope to help us across. So anyway, stick around. We're going to be heading up the Chiquito Trail to Chiquito Falls, out here in the Cleveland National Forest. Oh, we've only been a couple hundred feet up the trail. We bended around a corner. We're heading due north, a little bit to the northwest, and we came upon our first view of the falls, San Juan Falls. It's a triple drop. It's coming down from across Ortega Highway over there. It's working its way downstream, and it goes down through this canyon, and it has a triple drop. You can see our trail is going to be right in front of us there.
And there's a viewpoint over there with the railing. So we're going to be heading over there. We'll get a great view of the falls as we head back this direction, up over that ridge to Chiquito Falls. Well, we've come down the trail a ways, and this is a good view of San Juan Creek as it flows under Ortega Highway and works its way down the canyon. We're going to see some tremendous drop-offs here in a second. Give you a good view of the rushing water in San Juan Creek. Well, I worked my way down pretty steep slope here, the edge of the water as it's flowing. There's a drop-off and a waterfall to our left right there. I want to see if I get over to a spot where I get a better view. This is San Juan Creek as it's flowing downstream. We're going to be crossing this in about a half mile further down. It's got a pretty nice view from right here. Well, we just passed a really good drop from the San Juan Falls back there, and we had to scramble down to this one spot. Had a tremendous view of the waterfall, and it was really slippery. I slipped and was lucky I was able to hang onto an oak branch. Dave slipped as well, and it was pretty steep, short, but it was steep, and all the rocks are moss covered, so that's just a sign of what's to come as we get closer to the creek. You can probably hear San Juan Creek. It's flowing pretty brisk to my right, so we're not too far, quarter mile maybe from the creek crossing. So we'll see what it brings when we get down there. All right, well, we're working our way down toward the creek. Check this out. This is pretty sure this is miner's lettuce, and this is edible, or so they say. Tastes a little bit like a cross between parsley and cilantro. This is what it looks like. Miner's lettuce. Grows wild everywhere. It's pretty easy to find. It's real easy to identify. Gather some up, take it home, put it in my salad tonight. All right, I'm sure by now you can hear the sounds of the creek rushing by, and this is the where the trail officially ends at the creek. But we're going to be crossing the creek somewhere. Normally I cross right here. But I'm not so sure this is the best place to cross. We're going to have to scout up and down. We can go left. Looks like down there it's a little calmer. In fact, that way is even a little worse. So we might be able to cross down there where it's a little quieter. All right, Dave confirmed this is not the actual creek crossing. This is just a section of the trail that parallels the creek, but because the creek is flowing so deep right now, part of the trail is underwater. So we're going to circumvent that, work our way up, and continue, which is to the west, downstream of San Juan Creek. Woo. God, look at these trees, man. They're all covered in moss. Gorgeous.
They're gorgeous.
All right, well, this is what we got. Here's the continuation, actually the beginning of the Chiquito Trail after you've crossed the creek. But we do have to cross the creek. It's flowing pretty good. I don't know how deep this is. I read a couple of days ago that guy was saying it was way steep and he wasn't even in the middle. So we're gonna I'll have to take this nice and slow and easy. There are some narrower places further down and even upstream, but with a narrower width of the creek, the water intensity level of volume is higher, so it's faster. This is about as slow as I've seen right here. So we're gonna work up a way to get across, and I'll go first and Dave will follow, and we'll see what happens. All right, well, this is our setup to cross. I've got a webbing strap with a commercial rock climbing carabiner. I've got some 10mm static line rope. It's not dynamic, it's static. I've got about 35 feet of line of rope. It's attached to Dave. Dave's going to have a seat right here on the edge. And I wish there was another alternate point we could tie it off to, but there isn't at this point. So we're going to do the best we can. I think we'll have enough rope to get us across. It's not that far. And when I get across, Dave will cross. So wish me luck. Tell you what, this water is cold. You know what? This shouldn't be too bad. I think we'll be fine. I'm in the middle of the creek now. And I'm crossing. When you do a creek crossing, especially if it's a creek crossing that's as deep as this one, or deeper, and moving as fast as this one, you want to make sure your sternum strap and your waist strap is unclipped. This way, in case you have to ditch your pack, you can. It looks like I made it no problem. And it looks like we timed it just right with the amount of rope we have. So now Dave gets to go. I have to position myself a little further across so I can get a good grasp and a good place to sit. I want to set the camera down so I can pay attention to what I'm doing. Face upstream, keep your feet spread wide, and take it nice and slow.
All right. Well, you're right. That water is.
I was gonna say it'd be snowmelt. I'm gonna reel the line in so you can let it feed through your hand.
What's that?
You can let the line feed through your hand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it in as you come across.
Oh, it is lucky that
It's sandy on the bottom, so we don't have to worry about rocks. Okay, let the line go through, Dave.
Oh.
Because I don't want to, have a snap at the end. There you go.
All right. Well, I got a little wetter than I thought. Shit.
Well, it's okay.
I'll survive.
All right, yeah, you made it.
Woo.
There we go.
Oh my God, my feet are cold.
You're gonna be hiking in wet socks now, or at least I will be. You won't be, but I will be.
Oh, man, okay.
All right, well, we made it. Come on up here, Dave. Get to a nice dry spot so I can.
Okay. Oh man, all right.
Well, this is Long Canyon. After we crossed the creek, we went up a little knoll and then down. And this is going to take us to the north along Long Canyon. These are just tributaries that are feeding into San Juan Creek. At some point up at the hill here, we'll be crossing over and we'll be working our way up the slopes into the dry sagebrush switchbacks up above. Well, this is Long Canyon, that's downstream. And this is a feeder creek that feeds into the San Juan Creek. And as we get further up the canyon here, we will have to cross over this to the left. Check this out. Definitely some strange fungi, I guess. It's growing alongside the trail here, on the Chiquito Trail. You can hear the rushing of the creek downstream. In fact, you can actually see it through the brush right there. We're continuing in the end of, I think it's Lion Canyon. I might have said it was Long Canyon, but it's actually Lion Canyon. We should be getting at the head of this canyon here pretty quick. All right, this is a small, nice little spring. It's feeding the creek down in Lion Canyon as we're working our way up the drier switchbacks on the Chiquito Trail. All right, well, we've worked our way to the head of Lion Canyon, and we've been climbing up some pretty steep switchbacks actually on the south-facing slope of this peak. We're looking down on Ortega Highway, Highway 74. Way off in the distance, you can see the orange construction ropes. They're doing road work, it looks like. You see cars going down that way. Over in that direction over there, actually San Mateo Peak is straight ahead. And as we work our way to the right, you're going to see Sitting Peak, which is the one to the right in the middle there, in the middle of that range, the tallest one. That's a nice hike. But we're going to be continuing up this direction, up to the top of this ridge line. Then we'll drop over to the other side and down in toward the falls. According to Dave's All Trails map, we've hiked 3.8 so far. It's about 4.5 or so to get to the falls. It's about a 9.5 mile hike, I think, round trip. So we're getting there. And since we're out in the sun, it's heated up a little bit. It's still nice and cool here in the shade, or on this ridge line with the breeze. So I ended up taking my jacket off. Santiago Peak is around the corner to the left. You can't see that. That's the high point on the range. Anyway, we're going to continue up toward the top of this peak so we can get a glimpse of Chiquito Falls here in the Cleveland National Forest. We got some pretty good boulders up here. And I bet certain times of the year, if I could even probably this week, they had some significant runoff right here. But we got a really good view back down that way. That's looking to the south into the east. We're going to be heading this way through a small little pass, and then we're going to drop down toward Chiquito Falls. As we gain elevation here, the breeze is picking up as we get closer to the top of the ridge line. We can see Ortega Highway to our right as we're working our way up. Sitting Peak is across the canyon. All right, well, we finally made it over the top of the canyon back behind me, and I gotta admit that was pretty steep. And now we've worked our way over to the other side here, and now we're finally starting to go downhill again toward the actual Chiquito Falls. Oh, believe it or not, we've hiked about 4.5 miles so far, so we're only about a half mile from the waterfall. And I gotta admit, I'm kind of tired. Had several scenic little crossings like this one. Little feeder streams that are feeding in to the flow downhill.
Oh, Sam. Made it. I'm alive.
Well, this is our first good view of Chiquito Falls from above on the trail. So we're going to be going around to the right. You can see the trail where it's worn, a little path worn out. And we're going to be coming up to the top of the falls, and there's also another trail that goes to the bottom of the falls. Well, we're finally approaching Chiquito Falls. Well, this is the top of Chiquito Falls. Pretty impressive, huh, Dave? Well, I finally made it down to Chiquito Falls, which is right behind me here in the Cleveland National Forest. It's flowing pretty good. A lot of times when you come down here, it's not flowing, it's dry sometimes at the bottom. But as of today, we picked a good day to come out here. It's flowing nice and strong, and it's coming down from the top. It's about a 15 to 20 foot drop from the top of the falls to the bottom down here. I've climbed down here to the bottom. Last time I was here, it was a lot hotter day, a lot warmer than it is now. And I actually took a swim out here in the water, but not today. It's a little too chilly for me today. But I am still enjoying what a tremendous view of waterfalls over here in the Cleveland National Forest. This is a great day. We haven't seen one single person, not one person on the trail today. So that's pretty awesome. Well, we made it out here to Chiquito Falls. And it's just an absolutely stunning day. It's about straight up noon right now. And I brewed up some cappuccino from Avalanche over on my old Trangia alcohol burner stove over there. And I said, well, it's a little chilly with the breeze blowing, but it's nice. So I'm going to sit over here in the sun, drink my cappuccino, listen to the sounds of the waterfall. Ooh, it's hot. All right, well, we made it across the creek okay, and other than being a little cold and wet, we're heading back to the car. And we decided, instead of going back the way we came and heading up past the San Juan Falls, we decided to go right instead of left. And this is gonna give us a full, complete tour, complete loop of the San Juan Loop Trail. And we're right next to Ortega Highway. So we've got construction work going on over here. You hear cars going back and forth down the highway. We're right alongside the creek, which makes it scenic for us. And it might even be a little easier. It might be a little longer, but the grade is less. We're going to work our way up into the, if I remember correctly, the San Juan campground, work our way through the other side and spit out in the other direction and do that last portion toward the car. But we do have some tremendous views, unexpected views along the creek here, which is nice. All right, boy, this was a tough day. We completed our hike out at Chiquito Falls. We took the San Juan Loop Trail to the Chiquito Falls Trail. We had to cross the creek, hike down to the end of Lion Canyon, turn around and come back up Lion Canyon, go up and over this peak, and then drop down into the valley where Chiquito Falls eventually lie. And so anyway, we hiked out there. It was about 5 miles. We had lunch and then worked our way back. And when we got back, we crossed the creek again and then worked our way to the right this time instead of the left. And we went around counterclockwise on the San Loop Trail and came back here to the parking lot. So we did the entire San Juan Loop, which is about a 2.5 mile hike all by itself, without doing the extra 5-7 miles to Chiquito Falls and back. But anyway, what'd you think, Dave?
Oh, it was a great hike. The weather this time of year, as far as we've got this abundance of rain, and that was really the motivation for coming here today, one of the motivations. And it's just crazy for Southern California as far as the amount of water and such.
Yeah, I've been out here one other time. In fact, I looked on my old videos 5 years ago, St. Patty's Day week, and it was flowing pretty good then, but nothing like it was today. And I was able to cross the creek just by hopping over on the rocks. I didn't have to actually even get wet on that one. And this one, there was no way you were crossing that creek without getting wet. And we got wet to about mid-thigh, I guess, right about the bottom of your shorts, maybe the mid area of your thigh to your pockets. And we used a rope. We fed out a rope, so one of us was on one end and one of us on the other end. This way we had a little bit of a sense of security. The water's flowing really strong right now. The last couple of people that went out here, they got halfway across the water, and it was way steep. And the amount of volume of water flowing downstream was enough to turn them around. And we were fortunate that a couple days has passed. Even though we got about 2 inches of rain 2 days ago, I noticed it seemed like on the way back the water level had dropped a tiny bit from when we crossed the first time. So over the next several days that water level is going to continue to drop, and probably next week it'll be calf deep and you won't need the rope like we had today. But in the meantime, it was a great hike. We saw nobody all the way out there, nobody at the falls, and on the way back ran into one guy, and that's it. But anyway, it was a great hike out here in the Cleveland National Forest on the San Juan Loop Trail to the Chiquito Falls Trail and back. Anyway, take care. I'll see you in another edition of the Journal. Bye-bye.
Well, that'll do it for another edition of the Hiking Journal, our adventure into the Cleveland National Forest to visit Chiquito Falls. And I also got some good news earlier this month. I got lucky and was drawn for permits for an overnight trip to legendary Mount Whitney. According to the Inyo National Forest Mount Whitney page, success rates for drawing a hike up along the Mount Whitney Trail are only about 23%, and far, far less for those requesting an overnight permit. Dave, Jerry, and I are excited to be able to make this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and climb to the top of the highest peak in the lower 48 states. And we get to do it as a backpack trip. I put in for 4 permits and invited Tony, who you'll hopefully get a chance to meet before the hike later in September. And even though I'm excited to be able to do this iconic hike, I am a little nervous because I know just how tough this trail can be and how the altitude really compounds the difficulty. Well, now it's time to put together a training plan so I'll be at my peak when the time comes. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to tap that notification bell to get the latest updates on the channel when I post them. On my next adventure, I'm taking a solo hike to the top of Mount Wilson. Well, sorta, and I'll explain that later. In the meantime, take care, be safe, and I'll see you down the trail. Bye-bye.